Yeah, yeah.
There we go. Just as people are readying up. The penultimate
Literally
round of the
turning on here.
season, so we've got a championship battle still ahead. With tier three, we've still got Nerf Pack, and I think it is Marshall that are
Yeah,
like battling it out for the drivers' crown of tier three.
one of the unfortunate bits though of that title battle is Marshall is not here for the last race.
Yeah, I have seen that. But also, um, Max isn't too far off. It's only 17 points off the back of Nerf Pack in third. So father and son could end up P1 and P2 in the driver's standings by the end of the season.
It would be good to see.
That
This is only my third time watching this tier,
yeah.
and it's very very competitive.
Be so I know what a couple of them can do, so I'll just do the intro quickly. So, good evening, guys. Welcome to CDR Tier 3, this season 13, round 12, Circuit of the Americas. Um, Today it's Kieran and Northern Nat from Tier 2 on commentary. It's good to be here, and we'll look forward to getting quali underway. Standard, long quali, and 50% race. Hopefully, we'll see some quick lap times coming through in during quali and very little safety cars or accidents during the race. Anything to add on to that, Nat?
Yeah, let's just hope we've got a formation lap this time around.
That
No, it's
was that was the game that actually just decided it didn't want it. Like three people checked those settings on Friday night, and the formation lap was on everybody's screen.
I liked it, to be fair. I wouldn't mind like a random selection of it, of sometimes formation laps, sometimes not. I feel there were some people that were complaining about it. Now, for me, we've all played F1 enough to know that if more than one light is coming on, there's no formation lap.
Yeah,
Everyone should be on the clutch and their accelerator anyway.
that's true. So it is going to be interesting to not like some drivers will take different tire compounds today. Um, Personally, Friday I went for the softer tire compounds, which gave me 5 sets of softs through quality instead of 4 sets and a set of mediums. So I still finished Q3 with a set of softs remaining.
Yeah, I just run softs every session. I'm not comfortable enough yet running medium tyres in a qualifying where I feel safe maybe coming through Q1 to save myself some. And at the same time, I don't think there's many tracks on this game where softs are viable in the race.
No, they're not. The game's that broken on the tire deck that you can't run them. I'm just looking for who's actually the first car out on track. And it looks like it's one of the Haas cars. Yeah, it's not Max. Who else is it in the Haas? Looks like it's Wookie. Yeah, it is Wookie that's going to be the first one round. So the fact that he's still got his ERS on his outlap is a bit concerning.
Yeah.
He's going because he's starting the lap on 95% battery. I think he's just noticed because he's just done a little bit of a weave. Luckman has retired from the session because he's not qualifying. He's just helping fill the grid. So we will only be losing 4 more from quali today in Q1.
Of course, Wookie will be on the high of his F2 victory as well. Very, very good drive in Portugal. That for the win. Guy bags of pace around that circuit.
Yeah.
I always have really good battles with Wookie. I don't know why, but something about racing against him. We always push each other very hard through Miami. I think from turn 1 down to, I'm not sure what turn number it is, but just before you come down the first long straight.
It's 6, 7 and 8.
Yeah, we went through all of those snaky-ass sections.
So sector 1.
Yeah, all of sector 1, it were unreal. There were switchbacks and then running side by side through a left, switch back, side by side again. Really, really good driver. Very fair, very consistent. And then when it's a track that he's enjoying, like Portugal, we've seen what he can do. So let's see if we can do that again here.
He has opted to pit. Yeah, so I think the next round will be Max. The first one to actually set a lap time. Yeah, Max is phase 3 to start. Marshall is actually on a set of mediums. That's... can somebody give us the weather update, if you have it, please? So we know what we're going to be looking at for Wookie's reserving like Lockman. Yeah, we know, mate.
I still want to see you pushing, Wookie. I want to see that you've got that pace and that Portugal wasn't just a one-off.
So James Brown immediately in with a 33.2. So currently P4 and P3 in the driver's standings are topping the timing. The leaderboard.
Marshall backed out of that one.
Let's see. Dave has invalidated his outlap. Anderson's starting his. Nerf is on and out. Lou is just starting a lap. CB Gold is on an outlap. And yeah, I was gonna say,
which isn't a bad idea actually. I found my second runs on the used set of tyres were faster down this track.
I can't relate. Cannot relate. I genuinely don't know where my pole time came from Friday night. But this evening we should be looking at mid 32s for pole. Maybe even a low 32.
Yeah, I won't be surprised to see maybe someone like Marshall, or if Max can hook it up well, maybe even try and drop it into a 31.
A 30, bearing in mind only 4 drivers Friday night in Tier 2 hit a 31.
Yeah, these guys in Tier 3 are that strong now.
The top 5 or 6 could easily move up and be competitive.
I would not be looking forward to it because I know these guys are a lot faster.
Alright, Claymore, as Anderson has done a 33.1. Yeah, so that'll be for the incidents channel at the end of the day. CV Gold has taken some setup advice over the last couple of days and he's just about to come round the final corner with what looked like a decent line. 33 flat.
Very good one. For their first run in Q1.
Yes. Oh, he's a...
Whoa! see his front wing just hanging out there by the barrier.
I bet you he panicked when that wouldn't stop. He's gonna have to get that rolling again in a minute, or he'll get a disqualification for being parked.
I'm not sure what it is there. He'd already crossed the line, but for some reason kept his foot absolutely pinned.
It was almost like his brake pedal just decided. What it looks like he's done is he's come off the accelerator, and instead of left foot braking, he's hit the clutch.
Yeah, maybe.
And it's just coasted, and then he's realised what he's done, and then got onto the brakes right at the last minute. And fortunately enough, kept himself out the wall. Marshall is 7.4 seconds. Oh, as he crossed the line, as Wookie said, he didn't realise it was me and you on comms. No, it's Dom and Wookie.
I was always going to be a Wookie.
I got asked earlier on this evening if I could help cover. Well, earlier on today, and I had nothing else to do this evening, so I thought I'd jump in and give you a hand. As Nerf is getting a tow on his outlap by one of the Ferraris, which was the C8 Blue. Trying to find. There we go. Chip is the next one that is going to set a lap time, I believe. As Marshall's invalidated, Dexter's set it to 1. So yeah, it's Chip, next one that will be able to set a time.
I think Marshall's going to go for a second fire on these mediums. He's got his battery fully charged up. He's backing off. Does it feel like he's maybe got another 3 or 4 tenths in a scrub set of mediums?
The thing is, on those tyres, you only get about 3 laps of pace on them anyway, before they're completely cooked. So he's got enough time to sit in the pits for a few minutes, evaluate his options as Chip puts himself up into P2.
And he had battery to spare there.
No, he didn't. He ran out of deployment. So the charge was on 22%, but the deployment was. Yeah. As Dexter's almost 10 seconds down, so that's an in lap. See how Nerfback gets on. See if the stress of a championship battle is going to be getting to him. Purple's the middle sector, but runs deep at the next corner.
This corner's vital. You've got to take that so wide to be able to get the run out of it.
What I found was the best way through it was not to brake and power through. It was kind of just get it to a point of it's rolling through the corners, and then use the momentum as Nerf goes P7, and use the momentum you've got of it rolling.
Just brake enough where then you can just let off, trail brake through it, and then as you get through the little dip, that's when you need to be on the power.
Yeah.
On the power, a bit of battery deployment as you're coming round the long right-handers. I found that worked a treat through that section.
Blue, that is not the track. That is some NASCAR track limits there. I know Ferrari make a tractor these days, but that is not the way that we should be taking that. As Claymore has put himself up into P10 ahead of Marshall. So,
not sure if he's going again.
Yeah, the Aston's separated by fractions. The offsetting tyre wear here will be substantial. Is that? Oh, he's out of fuel.
Flair's out of fuel.
He's got the fuel light on.
He does. He is out of fuel. Is he going to make it back?
It's why even carrying the extra half a lap of fuel and taking the 3.1. It doesn't really affect your quality time all that much.
Not enough.
It's like an extra half a kilo of fuel. It doesn't.
Luckily got it back.
It doesn't change the way that the car handles or overall performance. As Dan's just retired in the McLaren, I didn't even realise he was there.
So it's two people, really, who will be fighting for those bottom spots to get
Yeah.
out of there.
And at the moment, it looks like it's Curly and Housey.
I think Housey is currently.
Oh no. Yeah, he is. He's just coming through the middle of, well, end of sector 2, beginning of 3. So his battery deployment looks comfortable. This is going to be about 133.5. Puts himself 12. Not comfortable there.
There's definitely time to be made. I think this is one of the tracks as well that I think plays into the hands of people who use full traction control.
Curly puts himself 16th.
I was full traction control, and this entire first section is
flat.
pretty much flat out.
Yeah, I moved back to full traction at the back end of last season. COTA was my first race back on it. Because I used medium the entire game and just went backwards in terms of pace. So I was like, the only thing I can do now is put full traction back on and hope that it helps. Which it has. But yeah, quality around here on full traction. From the moment you exit turn 1 through to the beginning of sector 2, so the right hander at the beginning of sector 2 as you start to go up the hill, it's just foot to the floor, 7th gear.
Yeah,
the entire way.
I think even up until the tightest of the right-handers at the end of that sector, you can maybe just lift off a little bit with a couple of downshifts in certain places, but it's so fast. And I think as I were watching Housey, whoa, a little bit late getting into the pits there, even on that long right-hander towards the end, he was lifting on a flying lap, and that is flat out round that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if maybe he's taken off some traction, or he's maybe running a bit higher pressures at the rear and just a little bit loose at the back.
Curly's make or break run now. I don't understand why he keeps moving left out the final corner. It's not like there's a particularly big bump along that start finish straight that slows you down. Not like at Silverstone where you've got a bump just before turn 1. The downshift is there we go. There's
so much time to be made there. He needs to be on the throttle more.
And definitely taking more curve, but it is not us doing the lap. It is just a commentary on what we think. But it's I think if he can, he needs to find almost a second to get to pint size.
Yeah.
And pint size has done all but be a 34 flat. Like it's a 1,000th out. So it's this final couple of corners that your line makes a massive difference. And it's also, this is also one of those tracks where puts himself 15th. That's not comfortable. It's only a fraction ahead of pint size. Wab is currently up too, so it looks like Curly could be going out to Wab.
I'd be surprised to see Wab go out here.
Wab still has deployment left.
Oh no! Oh no!
Curse of the commentator.
Got too excited on the accelerator.
Just touched that exit curb at the wrong angle, and we've all done it. But that's Wab out.
As soon as you get onto that curb, if your right tyres go the other side, it doesn't invalidate, but it just throws you. You either get dragged along the curb, or one of your wheels will just grip up and round you go.
Yeah. And pint size is currently almost 4/10 up. So if he can maintain that for the rest of the lap, pint size, I'd turn that overtake off. Or you got to be out of deployment. This is going to be a lot more comfortable from pint size if he can get around that final corner. Puts himself 8th.
Nice, much better. So it's looking like Curly. It's Curly and Wab out,
unless Curly can pull out. Curly's opted to pit, so it's Curly out. Dexter he's just seen Curly pit ahead of him, so he's invalidated anyway, but knew he was safe. So we're losing Curly, Wab, Lockman, Wookie, and Dan. There's not much between. There's only half a tenth between the top 2, and then just under a tenth and a half between the top 3.
Yeah, it's still very close across you'd probably say the top 5, 6.
There's just over a quarter of a second between the top 5. So it's not a huge gap to find, but around here, especially through sector 1 requires bravery, and then sector 2 is like 3 or 4 corners, and then the final sector is where you can make or break your lap.
Yeah, it's one of those sectors where if you perfect it, you get that quality run through, you're taking every apex, cutting the corners just right, can gain a hell of a lot of time.
Yeah, so just to confirm, we are losing Curly, Wab, Lockman, Wookie, and No Fandangle. With Wab and Curly only just missing out, in fairness to Dexter. Wab just unfortunate on his final run, losing the rear and going into the barrier on the pit straight. With the pace setter being CV Gold, which that's for his first season. He started to show up now and show that he could be a threat in coming seasons.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised to see the Aston Martin so far down.
Yeah.
They've been extremely quick over the last few races. They are better with race pace, though.
Without any team bias. I hope that the Alpines stay at the back end of the grid and the VCOBs do nothing this evening.
Yeah, not to put a jinx on it, but if Nerf were to finish last and Marshall were to win, no, but like it's a quality season to see people still fighting for the championship.
Yeah, Tier
Probably
1
will go down to the last race.
Tier 1 and Tier 3 are still up for grabs, I believe. With Tier 1 anyway. Tier 2 was sewn up with 3 rounds to go. And the Constructors is still up for grabs, even at this late stage. There's one specific team that just hooks everything together at this stage in the season. And it's done and dusted with a couple of rounds to go, but given the fact that you've really, across all 3 tiers, you've only really had one dominant driver across the 60 full-time drivers, has led the Constructors to be super tight across the top. Like the top 2 are closer than third down.
Yeah,
but the Mercedes team can still realistically finish second in the Constructors, even though they've got a confirmed drivers' champion already. So,
and you know, even with Cole winning that, he's still trying to put in decent results. I don't see Mercedes dropping off a top spot.
no,
I think the top two will finish as they are.
it's just a matter of team pride at this point, where you try your best to fight for the team that you are a part of and get them to finish as high as possible.
So first car out on track is Max.
Again, as
I'm the same though. I like to be out straight away, get a lap in, let everyone else chase you.
as that both Williams are actually out on track together. You've got Nerfpipe right behind Riker.
Maybe.
I don't know. They've just let one of the Mercs through. See, this is the one thing where on an outlap it does get me frustrated. If I'm trying to build a gap to the car ahead along a straight so everybody can get a clean lap in, don't overtake me and sit in between me and the car that I've left a gap to.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're seeing here with Chip.
Yeah.
Right on the back of Williams.
And then right ahead.
Detriment himself.
Yeah, and then right ahead of. And then he's right ahead of Nerfback too. Yeah, because like Nerf will not be able to attack the final corner how he wants to, because he's got a car in his way. As that is Max going around sector 1. I didn't catch his split time because I jumped on board just as he went through it. So that hairpin onto the back straight is such an awkward corner.
Yeah, it feels like it's really, really wide, and then before you know it, you're struggling to keep it on the track coming on the exit. It's a very, very strange one.
Great line through turn 12 by Max.
Yeah, that just misses the apex there.
But the thing is, through this little section of track, there are so many lines that you can take, none of which are slower than the other. It is possibly like the track was designed for F1, but they had the MotoGP in mind when they designed it, and if that sector is obviously designed for the bikes to just drop underneath each other.
Yeah, and it works just as well in F1. So good battles there in Tier 2.
As Dexter's done a 34 flat, Max 33.1, James Brown 33.6, Riker 33.1.
Everyone coming across the line now. Everyone's coming across 33.6.
Yeah. Chip 33.7. So yeah, Chip actually didn't help himself. Dave with a 34 flat. Dexter and Dave 1,000th apart.
Clay drops in the 33.2.
That's a solid lap time.
Marshall a 34, still running the mediums.
As Pint Size has done a 33.5. That's a great lap time for Pint Size. Howsey with a 33.5. C8 Lou. CV Gold being the pace setter in Q1 is on an outlap. So Lou is the next one who has invalidated his lap.
Yeah, invalidated his lap and is running out of fuel, so he's going to have to duck back in.
Yeah.
Hope he gets his last run right.
You would hope that that was a scrub set that he did that run with. Sometimes going out in Q2 on a scrub set, knowing that you're not going to be trying to set a pacey lap, all you're doing is just going out and doing a sighter lap. So you don't care if you invalidate because you know that the tyres are already done with.
Yeah, just to get a lap on the board.
It's just so you know where you can push the track limits to. So we'll jump on board with CV Gold as he goes through Sector 1. Purple Sector 1 with a 25.6. So that's looking fairly pacey to start his lap. Oh. If he gets away with taking that in first, I will be surprised. But he's got nothing but clear track ahead of him. I think he may have actually timed his first run in Q2 very well, because that's another purple sector.
On board with Houses.
The next man. Yeah, he's not on an outlap because it comes up saying outlap. Like Lou's just popped up with an outlap.
Just seems to be taking some very strange lines, very deep into some corners.
What's he got? 32.6, half a second clear of Riker. Half a second exactly clear of Riker.
It's not like there's tons of track evolution on this either, because there's that many different lines.
Yeah. Track evolution is track evolution does play a part. But half a second to the nearest driver in one quali session, especially on the first run, is a lot.
Yeah.
I think Halsey made a mistake on that lap, and it was just done with.
So that's everyone's first run done, bar Lou.
Claymore, I was less than a 10th off first. Gold, fuck off now.
Less complaining, Clay. More setting laps. Come on.
Less yappy yapper, more driving.
We know he's got the pace for it.
I still got purple sector 1. Yeah, but you're currently P4.
Might be purple sector 1, but you're 6/10 in sector 2 and sector 3 away.
Jesus.
Which is a lot through, considering sector 2 is... You can make a lot of time when you go along straight, and...
Sector 2 is... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners.
Sector 3, getting those last 2 corners right is vile.
A penultimate corner is just drop a gear and floor it. You treat it like cops, or the final corner at in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Just drop a gear and just floor the thing. As Lou is taking the scenic tour.
He pulled out. He backed off halfway down the main straight. Not sure why.
As Dave is invalidated. I'm hoping that's not a flying. That's a flying lap from Dave. Does he have enough fuel to go again? I doubt it.
Lou's going again now.
Well, he can't realistically go much slower than the 37.6 he's done, so. And that.
Fan of that, using third gear through these slower corners on this track.
Fourth gear.
Pace, I think fourth gear, but I think for qualifying third and just get your foot down, you can just run it those rear tyres a bit higher.
See, I'm the opposite. Race trim, it was third. because of the fuel load, and quality trim it was 4th. But it's just difference in driving styles. As Lou did purple sector 1, he was 2 times up. So his problem came at some point in sector 2, which I'm guessing was going to be through the next couple of... There we go, he's found 2 seconds through sector 2. So that's where he had his moment. I think he might have had like a little spin. Do you know the little half spin you get coming out of the turn 11? I think it is. Onto the DRS zone. Yep. He's too heavy on the brakes. It's going to cost him. It's got to be a comfortable time, but it's not going to be.
Very good time. 32.7. Only a tenth away.
Yeah.
Not even a full tenth.
Yeah. As James Brown is knocking with a 32.8, by the way. We didn't notice that. Marshall is just about to cross the line. What's Marshall got? P4. 33 flat.
Much better now he's put on the soft tyres and he's stopped trying to show everyone up on the mediums. Yeah, it's starting to creep towards the faster times now.
Yeah, track evolution. You were saying that track evolution isn't that big around here. When you think about it, in Q1, you've got 20 cars on the softest tyre possible, putting down at least 3 laps of rubber each. That's 60 laps worth of rubber gone down, minimum. So the amount of grip you have at the beginning of Q1 to the end of Q1 is significantly more.
Yeah, I just...
And then it's the same, like, think about it, Q2, an extra 45 laps go down, bare minimum, of the softer tyre. So...
Yeah, I just feel like in Tier 2 we didn't see that much improvement through the actual sessions.
I found 6 tenths between Q1 and Q3.
I mean, I don't even know how I ended up third. I think I was... What was I? I think it was maybe 12th in Q1, 8th in Q2, and then somehow got it third. I don't know how I did that. Must have just been a very good lap.
Yeah, I looked at it last night. My Q1 time would have been enough to have put me P2 in Q3.
Yeah, it's what I mean. I don't know what it is. I struggle with qualifying. I struggle over a single lap when you're pushing out and out. You know, trying to get every sort of millisecond out of the car. I always invalidate.
As hindsight puts himself 4th with a 32 flat. So that 32.1, 32.2, it looks like it's got to be the cusp, as Housy's just coming around the final corner a couple of attempts up. 33.1. So that, to me, I think is got to be the time to beat, because if Damo can improve now...
Murph is improving, but you wouldn't say enough. He's only... Oh, there we go. He's now 4 tenths up all of a sudden.
Yeah, he's gone through sector 2.
He's found the pace through this sector. Oh, you were just on the white line.
Through this sector, though, you can absolutely violate the track limits as long as you keep one wheel on the inside of the curb. Puts himself P6. And then just immediately into 7th as Max jumps up into P5. Claymore's then pipped him into P7.
Pint size, who's also 3 tenths up. 33 flats may not be safe.
Yeah, that 33. Yeah, that 33 flat would see Chip out. So it may actually be the 32.9 that Claymore is on. Could be the lap that you need, as we'll see. Yeah, Pine size was 32.1.
33.1, and it's gonna knock him out.
Housie and Housie's gone into the pits, so Dexter's invalidated, so Dexter's out. Riker is currently a fraction up on his time, but that fraction.
These last corners.
Oh, he's out of deployment, but he seemed to carry enough speed through the penultimate corner, puts him 12, the exact same time as Chip.
That is very, very tight. You look at Riker is what, 600ths of a second from 9th.
Yeah,
that is insane. Very, very close runnings.
The fact that there's only what 2200ths between him and Marshall in P10, 3200, sorry. So that could literally be the difference of him running out of deployment at between the penultimate corner and the start finish. So in Q3, I expect we will now see the first runs to be quite fuel laden, so the 3.1 laps of fuel.
Yeah.
And then the final runs in the final 2.5, 3 minutes is when they'll take that extra half lap out.
I'll be looking at the pace. I think it's probably going to be a battle between Gold and
as Nat's just gone, I will invite him back in a minute. So we're losing Dexter, Housie, Pint Size, Riker, and Chip. Chip and Riker will feel hard done by there. As again, CV Gold setting the pace. Yeah, that final sector is brutal on making back or gaining or losing time. As Nat has just said that he's had a power cut. Hopefully it's just a trip to his electrics and not a full power cut. I'm not repeating that one out loud. As we're actually just sat waiting for somebody to move first. As that, yep, that's Max out again first. Followed by CV Gold, then Lou, Dave, and Nerf back. So we'll jump on board. As DRS opens, along the back straight, just trying to get a little bit more warmth into those tyres. I mean, the brakes and the tyres will get warmed up through this next sector anyway. Heavy braking zones, a lot of loading up the outside tyre as you go left, well, right then left, then the long horseshoe at 16, 17 and 18, which just seems to go on forever. until you pop out on the other side. Then into the final corner. Deceivingly tight apex as he hits the DRS and opens up that ERS for his first hot lap in Q3. Goes into the fairly tight line. He's got plenty of free air ahead of him. Oh, just touched the wrong part of the curb there. Didn't want that. Just about stays within track limits. So gets a nice line through that hairpin. Such an awkward one to get right. But he saved that battery for along the start finish straight to deploy it along this back straight. So a little bit more top end speed along here. Gets it stopped and turned in nicely. As there is a Ferrari getting out of the way, which I'm going to presume is Lou, because that's what he seems to be doing all through quali. He's just letting others through while he gets his run settled. As Max is still on 50% battery, but only a tad of deployment left. So 33.8. It's not the best lap we've seen. CB Gold does a 33.5. Nerf back coming round. 32.8. Baymo 33.4. Is it James Brown coming next? Yes, it is. That car seemed to be on rails as it went through a little switchback part of Sector 3. So let's see if he can hook the rest of the lap. Gives that exit curb a wide berth because it can just make the car twitch around. 32.5. So he's found almost 3 times the nearest competitor. Marshall is just about to go around the final couple of corners. What's Marshall got in the tank? Now that he's on a set of softs again. 33 flat. So Hindsight is next. Does purple the middle, but there is a slow moving car just ahead, which has fortunately gotten out of the way. That looks like it was the Aston of Claymore, so well done in having the awareness to get out of the way. But Hindsight is low on battery. That deployment is almost out, and he is almost out of battery in general. But it does a 32.6. So what do I know? As Anderson has invalidated, CB Gold is in the pits, Max is in the pits, Dave is in the pits. Okay, I'm going to dip out and go get a drink, and I will be and I'll be back for the final laps of Q3. So bear with me for a moment. Apologies. So, as we've just seen, see who go quickest. James Brown is finding time. Hindsight is up through sector 1. Mr. Nerfbacks. Claymore has found time. But did the 32.8. Anderson is up. CV Gold missed his split time. Max is up. Dave is currently... Oh, what a time from James Brown with a 32 flat. Dave only does enough to put himself 8th. As Hindsight is looking at trying to dethrone that. As Anderson has gone into 3rd, Max is only P5. Hindsight is 32.4. Nerf is invalidated, is in the pits. Dave is a second down. CV Gold is looking at taking pole. Nope, we can only do a 33.5. What happened there? Did he run out of tyres? Don't know. But we're just watching the in-laps as we speak, because it seems like everybody caught the flag just about in time. Or does Hindsight actually have... Did Hindsight time this perfectly? No, he's out of fuel. Oh, no, Marshall is still flying. Marshall got only a short run to the line as he crosses it. P6. So puts himself just ahead of his championship rival. So all to play for. And there we have it. James Brown taking pole by just over 3 tenths from Lou. Hindsight, Anderson, Max, Marshall, Nerfpack, Claymore, Full Send Dave, and then CV Gold. So, being the pace setter in Q1 and Q2, just couldn't finally hook the final lap up when needed. So, was it running out of tyres, or was it just pressure got to him? We don't know, but we'll find out during the race if they can maintain positions or who the biggest winner and loser will be. As we just wait on them to go through their final pre-race settings, fuel loads, strategies, any adjustments that need to be made that can be made under Parc Ferme, so if they need to up the front wing, or if they need to adjust brake bias, anything that can be done under Parc Ferme, it is available to do so. As there we go. Let's see what tyre everybody is starting on. Full grid of medium runners. So we're expecting to see pit stops in around between lap 8 to 12, I believe, for the mediums, depending on track temp. It should come up in the next couple of corners at the bottom for strategy. There we go. Yeah, so lap 12 to 17 for the medium to hard, which pushing those mediums 12 laps this early in the race on this fuel load, they will feel horrific by the end of that stint. And it has been shown that the undercut does work. So it's just going to be a matter of who blinks first. And seeing as we've got no disconnections, that's all good. We'll drop that down for the race start. And we'll jump to broadcast for the race start. But the lead duo have just left the rest of the pack while they warm their tyres. Now this is going to be interesting. Do they aim at each other? Or do they aim at just go straight? Neither gets disqualified, so that's always good news. Okay, and we have the lights. Away we go. It's a solid start from James, who seems to have gotten a very good start, but then bogged down in the second stage, but sweeps around the outside of turn one. As the timing board's just sorting themselves out, Anderson and Max swapping places. That is Full Send Dave that's somehow at the back, as Howes is making up places. Dexter and Gold swapping. So the two V-Carbs not having the best of starts, as Chip and Riker are swapping positions left and right. So going through that hairpin side by side, and now it's just a straight drag race to the next braking zone, as Riker seems to have won that one, but at what risk of his ERS? He does get very close to Kalimo's rear wing as he goes through that corner and hit. They're still at it. This is what we were meaning during quali, that this section of track provides great racing, because look at how much you can close up just by taking a different line. It is impressive that you can get two cars side by side through the majority of sector 3 here. James Brown has gapped Hindsight and Anderson by 1.3. Max is up to P4, getting past Lou, who is now right behind right ahead of Nerfback, with DRS now available this lap. So this is where you will start putting your foot down and trying to capitalize on cars ahead that have spent too much ERS in the opening lap. So Nerfback is on 94% battery compared to Lou's 60 something percent, because the race strategy has opted to pop back up. As Nat has just said that his star has no power in the fuse boxes in his flatmate's room, who's not in. It's far from ideal. It happens. So at least the stream was being controlled elsewhere. CV Gold has dropped down again. Lockman and Dan have made their way up through the field, as Lockman is purple in the middle sector. Why is Hindsight just moving out of the way of those ahead of him? Does he just know that the admin at the end of the race will retire on the penultimate lap, so he will just regain that place anyway and race his own race? James Brown setting the faster lap again. He's checked out at the front here. 2 seconds clear, as Hindsight and Anderson are still at it. Max is joining the party. What has happened to Nerfback there? Does Nerfback just got swallowed up in the DRS train? Because he was behind Louis. Marshall's gotten ahead of him now. Bearing in mind, Marshall knows that he needs to win tonight and see Nerfback drop back significantly. Like, if Nerfback DNFs and Marshall can win, it makes next weekend a lot more difficult for Nerfback, who is the biggest winner and loser so far. So we won't take into consideration the admins. So the biggest winner so far is actually Riker up 3 places. Sorry about that. My console decided it wanted to listen to me. So Riker up 3 places, with CV Gold down 6, being the biggest winner and losers in the opening laps, as that is Chip looking at getting up the inside of Riker into the final corner. That is brave. Dave picking up a track limit penalty already. But there is not really room to breathe between what looks like Hindsight at the front of this group of cars. It is Hindsight all the way down to what appears to be Dan in P11. So 9 car Hindsight skis are picking up a 3-second penalty for track limits. So Hindsight is going to be in a world of trouble in a moment, with Max behind him with DRS, and then the rest of the cars following suit will all have DRS of each other. Like, as you can see by the track map, that little group of cars is then only split up by another, by a second or so, and then it's another group of cars, as Max and Hindsight are going wheel to wheel through sector 3. And that's Wookie picking up a time penalty. We don't want anybody to lose an end plate here, guys, so especially at this point in the race. So just try and keep picking up a penalty. That's not going to help at this stage. So let's just keep it as clean as possible, as that is a Mercedes losing the rear. That was Marshall. as Anderson has just got up the inside of Marshall. Claymore is still just sat at the back of this pack. Well, not at the back of it, in the middle of it, just waiting and looking like he's got ready to pounce as Lockman picks up a 3-second time penalty. Chip is still there. Like, this group of cars is literally separated after Riker down, and then it's Halsey. It's CV Gold that is making up, that is splitting the top 14 after Max down to Halsey. And then CV Gold has broken clear of the rest of the pack behind him. As we just jump on board and look back, as Hindsight has made a great move on Wookie. And Wookie's now having to defend for his life while trying to attack Hindsight. As what has happened to Hindsight there? Has he handed back a place that he thinks that he won unfairly? Is this Dexter going for his pit stop this early? It is super early for that. But if he feels those mediums have got nothing to give now, opting for the stop might be his best choice. Claymore 3 seconds for track limits. When the cars are this close together though, it is very easy to get offline because you're focusing on where the car ahead of you is going and where the car behind you is. So you're just trying your best to not get into any sort of bother with them. As Lou now gets past Max, as Max, Hindsight almost rear ends Max, as Max almost rear ends Lou. Nerf is back up into P5. Oh, that is Nerf, where did that come from? That was brave. Especially just sticking your nose up, getting the run through those couple of corners and sticking your nose there. It's extremely brave. Especially while recharging your ERS too, so you can have some battery to attack with. As we still look back at this group of cars that is now starting to leave. Oh, there we go, there's a safety car. Who've we lost? Lou has opted to pit. Was it Lou that we lost? Wookie's changed his front wing. So I can't work out why we have a safety car when we've had nobody retire from the session. But this is perfect for the medium runners now. If they want to get these mediums off, it is between the time where they will start to feel a little bit worse for wear. And given the fact that they have done a lot of these guys, I see it, Lou picks up a time penalty underneath the safety car. And a 10-second for corner cutting. How? Unless he's on a ridiculous delta that's not letting him actually go anywhere. Yeah, James has opted to pit. Max has followed him in. Nerf has followed him in. Hindsight, Anderson, Marshall Yeah, everybody is following everybody in. Now this is where it can get interesting. Cars can gain positions in the pit lane, especially when you've got this many pitting at the same time. Especially with a double stack, so like Dexter picking up 3 seconds. So like Wab has seemingly lost out to the double stack with Dan. Where is Lou? Lou has apparently lost it out of the final corner. So that's an interesting one. Well, Claymore has actually opted to stay out and will now be our race leader. So Claymore and Chip opting to stay out to try and go a little bit longer. I mean, the safety car does help the medium stint, but those mediums will not be feeling great. Within the next lap or two, even after they've completed the safety car. James Brown is still net P1, Max still net P2. Everybody will move up a couple of positions because if my memory serves me correctly, it's about a 23 to 28 second pit stop around here. By the time you've trundled down the pit lane, which yes it is just before the final corner, but you don't hit the limiter until you've gone through the final corner. And then it's just straight back up out the hill. It's a fairly short pit lane in retrospect, but it is still a lot of time to lose when all of these cars will still be so close together. I do wonder what this safety car is actually for though, because we've had no actual DNF for it. And Lou was the only one to retire, and he retired underneath the safety car. Safety car is in this lap, so let's just make sure that everybody is abiding by the safety car rule, as that is Chip getting stupidly close. What the hell are you? Why would you do that? Like, it's up to the lead car to set the pace. Do not just sit on their gearbox. Especially in this part of the track. Why? I don't understand this insistence on being that close to the gearbox of the car ahead under a safety car. because you can't overtake until you hit the safety car line anyway, the start-finish line anyway. So at best, you're going to get a run into turn 1. And that hasn't happened because you've then just hit the back of him again. So, well, those hards will not have warmed up properly, so they're going to be a couple of laps to warm up. As Housie is now trying to make a menace of himself in this midfield. James has got past Chip. Great move, done before the braking zone, as that is Max steaming in on Chip. That is... Max seems to have kept his front wing, so that is at least an upside. Is Max going to look at it up the inside? He did look at it, but just wasn't quite close enough on the braking. That's Dexter and Wookie swapping places again. Ooh, as the two ahead are going side by side. So that's Dave and Wab fighting for P14 there. As James Brown also picks up a time penalty. Oh, who was that? That was a McLaren. That was Dan. As that is Luckman going straight past Housie, and then gets very rudely shown to the exit. Almost escorted into Mexico City at that point. I know there's been a safety car, but lads, there's no need to lose the ability on how to drive. It was, you were bunched up, you were clean before the safety car came out. Why does it change as soon as you put fresh tyres on? So, does Nerf have enough to get past Chip here? Yeah, that tyre differential will be massive in coming out the corners. As James Brown has just made his move on Claymore, which we saw from Nerf's POV. A lot of respect given between both drivers. Claymore now under threat of Max. If Anderson can just stick with this lead group and not pick up a time penalty here, he could actually be looking at a decent result, as he's the one of the few in the top 7 that doesn't have a time penalty, and the only one in the top 5, as there is Hindsight going past Chip too. So P5 and P6 do not have a penalty, everybody else ahead does, but James Brown is just taken over like he did for his safety car. Got out ahead, trying to stretch his legs now. Which is Claymore acting as a moving roadblock here, because he's just dropped out of DRS of Max. Oh, Nerf, that was brave. The door was open mid-corner, but it was always closing there, mate. Yeah, you can't really fight that when you're that low on ERS and no DRS either. As Hindsight is now trying it. There we go. That is Lockman and the other Alpine taking a track limit penalty while getting the overtake done. So that was off the track to gain an unfair advantage. That tyre difference is just ridiculous. How was that penultimate corner? Max setting the fastest lap of the race with a 36.2. So he's on the hunt for this race win. His chip is still out. What the? Wookiees opted to pit and quit. What is going on here, guys? Can we sort yourselves out into it? Chip gets a 3-second penalty for corner track limits. How has Dave just jumped up to P11 from there? As that is Wookie's car that has stopped midway up through sector 1, right on the exit of turn 3 by the looks of it. Riker trying to close down on the back of Anderson, who has more ERS than Nerf Pack and will have DRS into turn 1, but just slipped a little bit further back than what he would have wanted. But Anderson does take the fastest lap as Wad picks up a 3-second time penalty. Pint-Size and Chip are in the pits. Oh no, that is Chip in the pits. Change your tyres. As Harvey says, guys from other tiers shouldn't be fighting guys in the championship battle. I don't think anybody is directly fighting for position. The only one that has reserved down is Wookie. With Dan and Lockman just filling the grid, they're not going to interfere with the full-time end of race results. Like, they will retire prematurely from the race and everybody will move back up. So I haven't caught everything that has happened, so if I have missed anything directly, then the guys know where the reporting channel is at post-race. As Anderson is now closing up massively on the back of Max, but Max has also got Nerf in his sights, and Nerf has now got James Brown in his sights. So this could get interesting as Dan is overtaking Hindsight and all over the back of Riker. Well, after quite a weird race so far, CB Gold has gone from 10th to 10th. It's kind of gone here, there and everywhere, as Dave seems to be struggling with something on that car. Could it be wing damage? Is too far behind to see. It just seems a little bit out of shape through the S's and a little bit understeery. But knowing Dave, this will be a rocket ship along the straight. Is that rear wing open? Yep. As Dan and Riker are battling away, the two Alpines. Pine-Size picking up a time penalty. Claymore now having a very lonely race. 8 seconds off the back of Dexter. 9 off the back of Curly for the final point. Housing, see, that's who's just pitted. Also, and Dave and Hindsight are now swapping places. Nerf has now taken the lead and is now looking at stretching a gap through this sector. It is Full Send Dave picking up another penalty. It is very easy to gain or lose half a second through the back end of those S's and sector 1, beginning of sector 2. Oh, that's a dive and a half down the outside by Max. I think he just about found his braking zone. Significantly alongside, obviously around the outside. Different rule completely to if you're going up the inside. Made the move stick and was entitled to space on the exit, so he doesn't want to let Nerfback get away too much because the championship still could hinge on these two and what they can do next week, as James is looking at coming straight back into turn 1. They're just swapping positions, which is just letting Anderson close up. As James picks up another time penalty, let's see. So Nerf is on 3, Max and James on 6, Anderson on nothing, Dan on 3, Riker on nothing, Lockman on 6, Halsey on nothing, Gold on nothing, Hindsight on nothing, Dave on 6, Marshall on nothing, Wab and Pineside's on 3 and 6, Curly's on nothing, Dexter's on 3, Claymore's on 3, and Chip is on the final one on 6 seconds worth of penalties. So let's take a look at the tyre age. Everybody's on about 9 laps. Oh, so Claymore's on the freshest. Sorry, Chip is on the freshest hards. Been on them for 3 laps. Everybody else has been on them about 9. With the exception of Dexter being on them for 11. So Dexter is not having a particularly great run at it because he's now stuck behind everyone else who was pitted, as Marshall is just struggling to keep up with the back of this pack, as Gold is looking at making a move on Halsey, looking around the outside, which does appear to be the better line as he makes the inside line for turn 2. Brilliant move around the outside. Got that move absolutely nailed on around the outside, and then held the inside line for turn 2 and has proceeded to move just a little bit up the road, and is not within DRS of the 2 cars ahead just yet, but that is the Alpine of Hindsight getting a little bit sideways, as that allows Marshall and Dave to move up, as well as Wab. So Dave has gotten past Gold, Halsey, the Red Bulls now. Do they work together or do they race each other? It's time to think smart, lads. Do you race with your teammate or against him? Because one of you actually has a chance at a podium here if you can work together. So think about it logically. Don't just send it and keep it moving. Riker can still end up on the podium at this point. Anderson is currently looking at winning the race based off of penalties. We do have a yellow flag at turn 1. Who went round? Oh, that was Dave. So, that about the Red Bulls working together. Ignore it. As that flashing light on the back of Anderson's car indicates that he is recharging. As so is James Brown. Max is high on battery. Nerf is comfortable, but he could do with a little bit more, especially through the next sequence of corners. He will burn another 10 to 12% of that battery. Dexter picks up another time penalty. So it's going to be a rough run to the end of the race for anybody inside the top 7 or 8, because a single time penalty here will... Dave gets a 10-second penalty for... I'm not quite sure, really. As Lockman picks up another track limit penalty. Right on board with Claymore for a minute and see, because he should now be within DRS of Curly when they hit it, but Curly appears to be close enough to the back of Dexter. As Anderson has made his way past Max. Yeah, that move's done. So hard to get. Oh, there we go. That move should be done now. Yeah. Barely had to deploy anything compared to what he was expecting in order to get past. Oh, just got on that curb a little bit too much under braking. And it just made him move about. Okay, so Anderson is now past Max for P2. Nerf is still 3. That's Dave in the pits. Is this a change of front wing? Nope, it's a pit and quit from Dave. So, we'd never like to see that. Oh, Dexter with it. Well, it sounded like a very weird throttle technique through the end of the S's. Sounded like he tried to emulate Senna's throttle inputs then by stamping on it and then lifting and stamping on it again. Curly does have DRS. That yellow flag is for Dave's car, as Claymore does get past Dexter. as we'll jump up back on board with Anderson as he's started to size up Nerf back now. He knows he's got no penalty. Does he have superior battery? About equal, but he will have DRS as James has just gone side by side with Max. So we'll see if these two can sort it out into the next corner. They can, as Anderson has got Nerf, but Nerf is not giving that up. So Anderson is running a better race in the long haul of it, but all it takes is one wheel dipped over the line ever so slightly wrong, as Marshall and Housey are going wheel to wheel. Watch how this unfolds over the next couple of corners. Lockman picks up another penalty. As Marshall has dropped off the back of Housey ever so slightly there. Anderson has got Nerf again. That gap will now reduce. Oh, Max and James Brown have got Nerf. Marshall and House is swapping places. Wab and Pine Size are now coming to play. So this could be an interesting final 4 or 5 laps between this group. Bearing in mind they are all fighting out for a top 10 at this point, with No Van Dangle and Lockman to retire in the next 3 or 4 laps. So, oof, that was close to jump back on board with. Hindsight has gone past Geezer. Exit turn 1. Tyres will be struggling at this point. And that's not what you want. So we'll take that down as Dan has decided to come and join the back of this little quartet. So with 90% battery, he can drive up to the back, and bearing in mind he has made up 15 places already so far this race, but will retire. So he doesn't really want to get involved in what's going on ahead, because everybody ahead is in that championship battle. Marshall, back in 8th place, is going to take a hit, possibly missing next week. Well, he is missing next week, so we'll lose the championship today, and then it's just, well, not necessarily lose it today, because anything can happen next week. We could see Nerfpack and Max drive into each other. Anything could happen. So here we go. The DRS is overpowered along this back straight, but he's opted not to go for the move. Just sat comfortable in P2, knowing that the nearest car behind him is Riker, that has to overtake a group of cars in order to get anywhere near him for track position. That's a great over-the-shoulder shot. And some great defensive driving. Pineside's picking up a penalty. Dexter and Chip's still going at it. They've been at it for most of the race. Oh! Not really anything that could be done there. That's just one of those unfortunate ones that those hards have lost their performance. Lost it during the horseshoe, the triple right from 16 to 18. And as it's decided to snap back with grip, the Ferrari of Curly has been on its way through. And it's collided with Curly. But what damage has that done to Curly's car? As Riker has got past Lockman. Oh! There's a little bit of wheel banging there, but Wab moving up. 3 laps to go at the end of this one. It's still anybody's to win. Yeah, I think why it's anybody's to win. I think that is Anderson's all day long now. So penultimate lap, Lockman with another 3-second penalty. Lockman is on to 15 seconds. I mean, it's what happens when you know that you got to retire just before the end. But if he somehow manages to force Riker into getting a penalty now, that would be unfortunate. Oh, for Riker. But how far behind the leader? As him battling, Riker actually dropped him. He's almost dropped Riker out of a podium position here. 5.7 seconds to go. There's the 6. So possibly we'll see Riker drop out of a podium position due to that battle with Lockman. And then we go, there are the 2 admin retiring from the session, so everybody gets their correct finishing position. Anderson is on the final lap. this race is his. Yeah, Rijker's 6 seconds off the lead. Flamewell picks up a time penalty, so 4 seconds off of James Brown. So he will still pick up a podium. As what's the fastest lap? Nerfpack will be picking up the fastest lap point also. As we will jump back on with Anderson as he takes the final few corners. As the cars behind, as Webb has picked up a penalty, as the cars behind him, I was just about to say, it seemed to have settled down and just agreed to take the positions they finish in on track. As that is a 1.1 second lead from a very hard fought race from Anderson. That is a cracking race from him. Fully deserves that win. As we just wait to see on how the top six's penalties shape up. So Anderson from Nerf, from Riker, Max, James, Marshall does get sixth in the end. Halsey in seventh, Hindsight eighth, Receiving Gold ninth, Webb in 10th, Hindsight and Claymore in 11th and 12th, Chip in 13th, Curly in 13th, Chip in 14th, and Dexter in 15th. I don't see that changing because he's still got a half a sector left to go and the car ahead finished 30 seconds ago. Oh, there we go. Alright, Pint Sizer just said silly mistakes were by me in the race. That's why he kept dropping down. So he kept giving up the position because it was a simple mistake by him. It happens. It's a little bit of ring rust, mate. You've been away from the game for a while, quite literally. So just keep it going. So we'll give the boys a moment on the podium to celebrate. Okay, that's enough of that. So that is Anderson taking the win from Riker. From Riker, from Max, James Brown, Marshall, Halsey, Hindsight, CV Gold get a decent finish there. Webb, Hindsight's Claymore, Curly, Chip, Dexter, then Lockman, Dan, Paulson, Dave, Wookie, and Lou. We'll just get these without the penalties. There we go. And then I will do the invites for the post-race interviews. So we have Anderson, Riker, and Nerfback. So bear with me for a second. We'll give them a moment to join. Evening, Dave. Let's see if we are going to be joined by the other two podium sitters.
I'm here.
Yeah, I know you are, but just Riker and Anderson.
Just
If
check I can be heard on stream, Kieran.
I don't actually have it open anymore. Just give me a second. Go on, Dave.
Hello.
Go on,
Can you hear
Dave.
me now?
Yeah.
Excellent.
So it looks like we're not going to be joined by the other two,
Oh,
which is a shame because that
it is.
four-way battle at the front was
That was
brilliant.
hard. That was hard. That was absolutely, yeah, extremely difficult, extremely hard to maintain. But yeah, brilliant race. Brilliant.
Yeah. So quality didn't seem to be going your way at first. Then you seemed to hook it up in Q3 when
Yeah.
the pace setters in Q2 and Q1 seemed to drop off for some reason.
Yeah, so my first run in Q1, I invalidated in the S's stupidly, just took too much, silly mistake. So went back in and took a fresh set out, and I just had that sort of in the back of my head where am I going to invalidate again, and it's just the pressure was there, and I just had to do a decent run to get me through. Got myself through into Q2. My first run, I used the 2 lap old softs that I had in the bag, so that was never going to be a good time, but it was the time on the board. And then I just went out on a new set. I'm not sure what my Q2 time was, but 6, 7, something like that.
Yeah, it was a
Um,
decent lap.
yeah, it was all right, but I wasn't in the 32s, and I knew I had more room in the hairpin before the back straight. I knew I
Hmm.
had more time in that. So Q3 I went out, and that's where I nailed it. Basically, that's
Yeah,
where I found the time.
and
Um,
if if Marshall is missing next week, if my maths is mathing, um, then it is literally down to you and Max with about
well,
7 points in it.
well, just to add a thing into the mix there, me and Max are actually on holiday next week, so Marshall and me and Max are not here. So my only threat was James Brown, which I think if I finished in front of him,
You
but I don't know. I
You,
don't know whether
which
I've done it.
you did. You finished. James ended up finishing fifth,
Right, okay.
I think. So the fact that the top three in the drivers' standings.
I know, I miss it. Well, we
Uh,
booked a holiday around the half term, which was the calendar was only 12 races, and then obviously because the game was postponed or brought forward or whatever, we had an
um,
extra racing, which I was gutted, but it didn't say anything because obviously Marshall was the same as well, and he announced that last week, but I was on the podium last week.
so you had a 35-point gap to James Brown, a 33-point gap to James Brown
I
as
did.
of going into today. So you've finished ahead of 20, you had 17 to Max and 10 to Marshall. So given the fact that you beat all of them today, um,
Wow.
I am going to unofficially say that I think that's the championship in the bag.
I hope so. It'd be good.
It'll be next to
It,
race you in Tier 2 next season.
well, let's talk about that. I don't know how many races I've actually won. I think I've only won 2.
Yeah,
I think
but
so.
it's been a
Consistency.
consistent season
Yeah, yeah,
of
definitely.
what podiums predominantly throughout the season.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's been good.
we won't officially announce anything
No,
until
no.
Chloe's done the standings and the
Done the
maths is
maths.
actually maths. Uh, but
But
unofficially, congratulations. And
thank you
there'll
very
be
much.
a proper announcement by,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure on who will be on comms next weekend. I think it might be
It won't
Dan
be.
as
I have
usual.
no idea. Yeah,
Um,
no idea.
but if it is myself, then obviously once the standings come out, the
Yeah.
formal announcement will be made. And then we'll get called bias for an admin winning the championship for the second time in 3 seasons.
Obviously, yeah. No, it's been consistent, and I can just say, Anderson, what a great race that was. Had some
Yeah.
good battles. I think I'm not sure whether it was Anderson early on, and I went up the inside of him, and we had a good battle through the last sector.
Yeah, it was. I
Was it
caught it.
Anderson? Really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Really clean racing, really wheel to wheel. The sweat was pouring off him. It was, yeah, respect to him. He was,
COTA is a sticky race anyway. It's so it's so physically and mentally draining.
yes, yeah, it was.
But congratulations on the podium anyway.
Thank you very much.
That 3 seconds killed
Yeah,
your chance at victory, but it
yeah, it did. It was in the
still
first few laps as well, but
it
it is
still
what it is.
secured a podium.
I was
So
pushing Anderson to try and make a problem, to try and make a mistake, but obviously it didn't work.
yeah. So I will let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks
And
very much.
from us, we will see you at the same time, same place next week for the season finale at Silverstone.